Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan was arrested yesterday and sentenced to 3 years in prison for illegally selling state gifts while he was Prime Minister between 2018 and 2022. The 70-year-old cricketer turned politician denies the charges and maintains the mounting cases against him are politically motivated and intended to stop him from running for election. Good morning, I'm Chitrakar and these are the headlines of the hour. 6 individuals of 2 families from Nepalganj dies in a vehicular accident in India. Another 2 individuals dies in a landslide in capital Tarkeshwar. CPN Mao Center Chairperson Pushpa Kamal Dahal scheduled to answer the questions raised by Central Committee members today. Preparations underway to conclude the meeting today itself. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says a Russian-guided aerial bomb hit a blood transfusion center in Kharkiv region. A university building in Donetsk in eastern Ukraine caught fire. And 2 matches slated for today in the pre-quarterfinals of the ongoing FIFA Women's World Cup. Netherlands play South Africa, Sweden take on the USA. Six individuals of 2 families who were involved in trade in Nepalganj have died in a vehicular accident in India. Nilans and Sunita, the son and daughter of Santosh Kumar Gupta, who is a business person in Triwan Chowk, Nepalganj, died in an accident in India's Balrampur. His relative Vaibhav Gupta, his wife Deepika, 3-year-old son Dallu and 6-month-old daughter Shreya Gupta also died in the accident. Meanwhile, the driver Ajay Mishra has been critically injured. 2 individuals have died in capital Tarkeshwar after a landslide buried a house. Ganesh Tamang and his daughter Ashma, who were tenants at the house of Chandra Tamang, a local resident of Tarkeshwar, have died in the landslide last night. Police have said that the house was situated at a steep and isolated area. CPN Mao Center Chairperson Pushpa Kamal Dahal is scheduled to answer the questions raised by the Central Committee members during the party's Central Committee meeting today. CPN Mao Center has geared up to conclude its Central Committee meeting that has continued in Kathmandu for the past 4 days. Under-Secretaries Barshaman Pun and Janardhan Sharma have expressed discontent towards the party leadership. Leader Pun has alleged Dahal of failing to look for an alternative leader of the party. He added that actions must be taken against leaders of the party who are found guilty of corruption. Meanwhile, leader Sharma accused Dahal of toying with leaders' nature. Sharma also proposed to investigate the properties of the party's leaders. CPN-UML Chairperson KP Sharma Oli has made remarks that Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal's recent India visit was centered on power lust. Speaking during a program yesterday, CPN-UML Chair Oli alleged that Dahal's recent India visit was centered on power lust rather than the national interest. He stressed on the need to maintain bilateral relations with both the neighboring countries, India and China. Oli said that bilateral issues could be resolved through diplomatic talks between the neighboring countries. Former Prime Minister Oli expressed discontent, saying that the Indian side could not understand the report prepared by the Eminent Persons Group, EPG. In our Public Voice segment, we had asked people in several provinces regarding political parties' reluctance in handing over leadership to younger generation. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
पाका पुस्ताका नेतृत्व युवाहरूबाट विस्थापित हुन्छ भन्ने डरले
पुस्ता हस्तान्तरण गर्ने बित्तिकै अर्कोले कुर्सीमा समाउँछ नेपालमा चाहिँ राम्रो योग्य चाहिँ नेताहरू नै देखे हैन
सधैँ आफू शक्तिमा रहन चाहन्छन् आफ्नो शक्ति अरूलाई दिन चाहदैन
सत्ता शक्ति र परिवारवादकै मोहको कारण
हात खुट्टा पनि चल्दैन त्यो पनि त्यही पदमा बसौ नयाँ पुस्तालाई पनि दिने मौका दिनु पर्यो
नेतृत्वमा विश्वासको संकट
राजनीतिलाई पेशाको रूपमा लिने हो
बुढा पाकाहरूलाई चाहिँ अब अलिकति पदको लालच बढी भयो
एकचोटी शक्तिमा पुगिसकेपछि त्यसको एउटा रवाफ हुन्छ त्यसबाट विमुख हुन चाहदैन उनीहरू
नयाँ पुस्ताहरू पढे लेखेका छन् र उनीहरू क्षमतावान छन् उनीहरू चाहिँ एकै पटकमा पदमा आउँदाखेरि अलिकति पुरानो पुस्ताहरूलाई त्यो असह्य हुन्छ
उनीहरूले पनि सोच्नु पर्यो अब यो बुढो मान्छेहरूले देश चलाउनु र युवाहरूले चलाउनु धेरै फरक पर्छ
युवाहरूलाई यो विश्वास नगर्नुको कारण
Time now for our segment, Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
Here's the question. Why is the government indifferent towards checking the quality of items being imported in Nepal? Your options are A, unclear policy, B, lack of budget, and C, irresponsible government. Voting is on. Type any WS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Time now for international update. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said a Russian-guided aerial bomb hit a blood transfusion center in town of Kupiansk in eastern Kharkiv region yesterday. Zelensky made the claim on his Telegram channel, where he also published a photograph showing emergency workers in front of a burning building. Kupiansk is a railway hub fewer than 10 miles from the front. Zelensky said rescue workers were extinguishing a fire at the scene and described the strike as a war crime. Meanwhile, a university building in Donetsk in eastern Ukraine was in flames late yesterday following Ukrainian shelling on the Russian-controlled town. Emergencies Minister of the Russian-backed Donetsk People's Republic, Alexei Kosturbitsky, told media at the scene the cause of the fire was an attack using cluster munitions. Ukraine, which received supplies of cluster munitions from the United States last month, has vowed to use them only to dislodge concentrations of enemy soldiers. Leaders of the bloc of West African states, known as ECOWAS, have agreed on a plan for military intervention in Niger unless coup leaders restore civilian rule today. West African military chiefs have agreed on a plan for a possible intervention in Niger as a Sunday deadline approaches for the country's military to restore civilian rule. The Economic Community of West African States, known as ECOWAS, met in the Nigerian capital Abuja on Friday. Abdel Fattah Musa, the bloc's Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, explained that it is an operational decision that will be taken by the heads of state. Last Sunday, ECOWAS gave the military junta that toppled elected President Mohamed Bazoum in a July 26 coup 1 week to restore him or face the potential use of force. Bazoum remains a hostage of the junta. On Thursday, a delegation of mediators from ECOWAS left the Niger capital, Niamey, without meeting the coup leader, General Abdourahmane Tiani, the former head of the Presidential Guard in Niger. The French Ministry of Foreign Affairs says it regrets what it called an authoritarian repression being imposed on Niger. Niger's junta has vowed to respond immediately to any foreign intervention and has been holding Bazoum and his family in his official residence in the capital, Niamey, for 9 days. At least one man is in a serious condition after a shooting on a street in central Tel Aviv yesterday. The suspected shooter was then shot dead by a municipal patrol officer, Tel Aviv's mayor Ron Huldai told Israel's public broadcaster. The Inspector General of the Israel Police said the attacker was apparently a resident of the Palestinian town of Jenin in the occupied West Bank. The shooting comes a day after the Palestinian teen was killed in an attack by Israeli civilians on a Palestinian village in the West Bank. Washington has expressed concern over a growing number of attacks by Jewish settlers on Palestinian villages in the West Bank, where violence has worsened since last year with increased Israeli raids amid Palestinian street attacks on Israelis. The man in critical condition is a municipal patrol worker, according to the city's mayor, who said he had approached the attacker after noticing something suspicious and was then fired at by the shooter. A lawyer for Imran Khan said yesterday Pakistan's former Prime Minister's arrest was a fixed match after a court sentenced him to 3 years in prison. Police arrested Khan in Lahore yesterday for illegally selling state gifts, potentially barring the opposition leader from contesting an upcoming election. Legal experts say the guilty verdict reached by an Islamabad district court could eliminate Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's greatest rival in a national election expected in November. Khan has denied wrongdoing, and in a pre-recorded video address released by his party, he asked supporters to protest peacefully. Meanwhile, several supporters of former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan were arrested by police in Peshawar yesterday evening during a protest against his arrest. The arrest was the latest in a series of blows that have weakened Khan's political standing after he fell out with Pakistan's powerful military and his party splintered. According to the China Earthquake Network Center (CENC), a 5.5 magnitude earthquake jolted Pingyuan County of Dezhou City in East China's Shandong province at 2:33 a.m. Beijing time today. The epicenter was monitored at 37.16 degrees north latitude and 116.34 degrees east longitude with a depth of 10 kilometers. At 3 a.m., a second earthquake with a magnitude of 3 hit the country with a depth of 9 kilometers. Local authorities immediately launched an emergency plan and deployed 7 rescue stations and 16 fire engines. They also dispatched 93 firefighters to the epicenter for rescue and relief efforts. Pingyuan, located in the central part of Dezhou, has a population of 420,000. Residential areas and farmland in southern Austria were inundated yesterday after torrential rainfall on Friday caused flooding and a mudslide. The rain forced the closure of roads, flooded basements, and triggered a small mudslide in the town of Verlash. Firefighters and the Austrian Army Bundesheer were mobilized to help manage the situation. According to the Austrian Weather Service, a slight easing of the rainfall was in sight by yesterday afternoon. The Austrian county, Carinthia, a popular vacation destination, shares a border with Slovenia, where at least 2 people died as heavy rains hit northern and western parts of the country on Friday, causing floods, cutting power, and disrupting traffic. According to the National Center of Meteorology, parts of the United Arab Emirates were hit by heavy rain and strong wind yesterday, with unstable weather expected to continue through next week. Trees were toppled and some roads were flooded throughout the Emirate of Dubai. The National Center of Meteorology issued weather alerts, calling on residents to be cautious on the road. The World Bank is aiming to help fund construction of 1,000 mini solar power grids in Africa's biggest economy, Nigeria, in partnership with the government and private sector. Nigeria, with a population of more than 200 million people, has installed power generation capacity of 12,500 megawatts, but produces a fraction of that, leaving millions of households and businesses reliant on petrol and diesel generators. Mini grids made up of small-scale electricity generating units typically range in a size from a few kilowatts to up to 10 megawatt, enough to power some 200 households. Speaking during a visit to a mini-grid site on the outskirts of the capital, Abuja, the lender's president, Ajay Banga, said that nearly 150 mini-grids had been built, partly funded by the World Bank, to bring power to communities without access to electricity. An estimated 1.5 million people packed a riverside park in Portugal's capital yesterday, braving a relentlessly scorching sun for hours for an evening prayer service with Pope Francis. The Prague Tejo, a new venue created for the event, covers 100 hectares and has no shade or structures. Some participants had to wait up to 20 minutes to refill their water bottles as temperatures reached 38 degrees Celsius. Some arrived more than 8 hours before the Pope appeared in the early evening, riding in an open Pope-mobile that took more than half an hour to snake through the crowd. Francis, who is due to leave this afternoon, started the day at Catholic Shrine of Fatima, praying with about 200,000 people at the site, where the church says the Virgin Mary appeared to 3 shepherd children in 1917. Before wrapping up, here's a look at the top stories once again. 6 individuals of 2 families from Nepalganj dies in a vehicular accident in India. Another 2 individuals dies in a landslide in capital Tarkeshwar. CPN-MAO Centre Chairperson Pushpa Kamal Dahal scheduled to answer the questions raised by Central Committee members today. Preparations are underway to conclude the meeting today itself. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says a Russian-guided aerial bomb hit a blood transfusion center in Kharkiv region. A university building in Donetsk in eastern Ukraine caught fire. And 2 matches slated for today in the pre-quarterfinals of the ongoing FIFA Women's World Cup. Netherlands beat South Africa 2-0. Sweden take on the USA. That's all for the moment. Our next English bulletin will be at 6 p.m. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.